Alright, hi, I'm Juha Bach from Team FOE x PPG, and I just got second place with God Trunks or Xeno Trunks, whatever you want to call it. I built this deck literally around an hour before the event started, so this is actually not my deck. This is shout out to my friend Nick for letting me borrow the entirety of the deck. I just wanted to play it because this deck feels like a slower but more consistent Gogeta Xeno, and I really liked Gogeta Xeno the way it plays, but I don't like how glass cannony it is now, so I wanted to try out this more like tanky version of Gogeta Xeno. So that's why I played Trunk Xeno. So this is the leader. So the leader is activate main, you warp a black card, and then you get to draw 2. And then you awaken either when you have 5 or more Saiyans in your warp, or when you're at 4 or less life and you untap 1, draw 1. And then on the unawakened side, he's a blocker. He draws 2. When he swings, he draws 2, he warps 1. And his activate main spirit boost, you can pay 1 energy to warp a battle card on your opponent's board once per turn. And that's actually really relevant, especially in the Sin Shenron matchup. The guy tapped out for the 9-drop Sin. I warped the 9-drop. He drew his 2 cards and I ran him down during that turn. So this effect is really good against Sin Shenron. So starting off with the engine, you play 4 of these Go 10 Xenos and 4 of these Gohan Xenos. So these guys are your engine starters. So these are the guys you want to work with your leader's effect on the front, because their effect is you can play with them from your warp by paying 1 black energy, and when you play them you warp 3. So ideally you warp 1 to draw 2, and then you pay 1 energy to play either of these, and then you warp up to 3 cards from the top of your deck. So ideally you would warp 3 Saiyans, which means you would only need 2 more Saiyans to be able to awaken on turn 2. And next turn when you do your leader effect, your leader will put the 4th Saiyan into your warp. And this guy is a 10k crit, activate battle, spirit boost 1, he gains crit. And this guy is just a blocker. So this guy is a recurable blocker that costs you no cards in hand. And this guy's a recurring attacker. This dude becomes super irrelevant once your leader's awakened. And this guy still, even when your leader opponent is awakened, he's still good because he's still basically free blockers every turn from your warp. You pay 1 energy for it, but you're not losing cards in hand. And then you have 4 of the Unison, which is what makes you have a big hand. So the Unison is your ideal turn 2 play. So your turn 1 play ideally is one of these guys to get the 3 Saiyans in your warp if you hit the nuts. Then turn 2 you play your Unison. Your Unison's +1 does the same thing as these guys. And then once per turn, when you play a battle card from your warp, you gain a marker and you draw a card. So ideally you have 3 Saiyans in your warp, your leader puts the 4th, you pay 2 for the Unison puts the last 1 that you need, then you can awaken at 7 or 8 life, and you can use that energy to play one of these guys from your warp. So your Unison will draw you another card and she'll go to 4 markers, and from there she's just very hard to remove unless they do the Kai of Time SCR or the Vegeta SCR to get rid of it, or they just attack it a bunch. But it's going to be hard because it accumulates markers real quick. And then this guy, he's a 1-drop that he can search out the Unison or any 4 cost or less Saiyan, which is basically almost everything in your deck, your super combos, your true fightings, etc. And then speaking of true fightings, you have 4 true fighting Gokus and 3 true fighting Vegetas. I think these cards are self-explanatory, but I do play the Gogeta thwarting chain, so you need these guys. These are your best targets. These cards are still really good. For thwarting, I'm gonna put these 12 cards is one package, because this is like my turn 3 aggro play. So I'm gonna start with what the Trunks does, because you guys already know what thwarting does, and you guys already know what this guy does. He grabs your thwarting. So this guy, you play him from your warp for 2 energy if you have 8 black cards in your warp. So he's a dual attack that when you swing with him, not once per turn, you choose up to 3 black cards from your warp and put them into your drop. So Ideally, you have the Unison out on from turn 2. So you pay 2 energy to bring this guy out from your warp. And he has deflect as well. So you draw a card off of your Unison. You swing with him. You put 3 cards from your warp to your drop, putting you at 3. You swing with him again, which puts 3 more, putting you at 6. You overwhelm this guy for 6. You grab your thwarting back. You swing with him, and then everyone knows this play from Gogeta Xeno. So you overwhelm the thwarting, you play the thwarting. So this is my aggro play. This play is what made me want to try out the deck. And he has deflect as well, so blue can't God Sealing this guy. And then there's this guy. So he's basically a weaker version of this guy, but he comes for 1 energy. If you have Sparking 10 in your warp, you play him for spirit boosting, and he's a 20k double strike. So this is basically a recurring 20k double strike that you play from your warp. 3 overwhelm Trunks. This is a good early overwhelm that sets up your warp. It sets up your Gogeta Xeno plays. Sometimes what you want to do is you want to block with your block. Oh, sorry, wrong one. You block with your blockers, and they're in the drop. You overwhelm them, so now they're in your warp to play them. You draw 2, and you warp basically more cards that you can play for free, and it's more aggression, free aggression. My favorite girl, Pan, she's a 1 energy topo for the deck. So for 1 energy, you discard a card, and then your opponent's battle cards cannot attack unless they discard 2. So this lets you be very defensive. It doesn't work on Unison or leader swing, so they can still attack with leader Unison and not discard. And it does not actually negate the attack, so keep that in mind. So mostly you negate with her, and then you combo her off right away. 4 super combos. So this super combo is actually pretty dead, because for a large portion of the game you're at like you're anywhere from 5 to 7 life because you awaken so early. So, but it is a thwarting fusion piece, but I have considered playing the Goten Xeno that lets you super combo from your warp. But I kind of just like the consistency of the Vegeta. 2 Kinda Gates. This card should probably be bumped up to 3, but I built this deck literally an hour before the event, so it's not the most optimal it could be. 2 Eddie Negates, same reasoning as the Kai. So this is basically your black version of testing the opposition, Frieza, reinforcement, blah blah blah. Should be at 3, but built the deck an hour before the event. 1 Brainwash. I feel like you have to play it in every black deck. My 1 loss was to U7 Goku, and had I drawn this, he went all in with the 17. He comboed to like 90k, and had I drawn this guy off the super combo, because I know he was gonna get me from 3 to 1 and then play the SCR to burn me. So had I drawn this card, I could have activate battled, taken the 1, I guess, and still kept like 70k worth of combo. Been at 2 life, out comboed his SCR swing and kill him the next turn. But I didn't draw it, so I should probably play more copies of this card. This guy was dead the entire tournament. I played against Soul Striker and Sin, and against those matchups, this card is never coming out. Against Sin, it's just gonna get bloodlusted. It's gonna get bloodlusted, then it's gonna get hazed. So it never came up. I cited it out literally every single game. 2 Champa, because this is a kind of aggressive deck that builds a big hand, so you want to push your opponent to awkward life totals and then just basically kill them. And my favorite SCR, Pan. Y'all know I was gonna play Pan. No explanation needed, she's just Pan. And now for the side deck. So this side deck was literally built so poorly because I literally made this right before the event. I put 2 BMS because I was looking through generic black cards, and I'm like, okay, this might actually come up. It came up 1 round, but as an attacker, but not as an actual like, oh, I'm gonna stop you from spamming battle cards. I cited 2 of this guy. because once again, I was just looking through my friend's binder of black cards, and I'm like, okay, this is a good generic black card. It has deflect. In theory, you play it against U7 when they're spamming the 17 and freezes, and then you force them to pick one, and then they lose the rest of their board. It never came up. I sided it in against U7. It did absolutely nothing. In case I sided this in case I played against Hatch. Didn't see a Hatch, so it was basically not sided in at all. 2 Super Kamehamehas. I didn't main these. I just sided them because the deck space was so tight. My logic was, okay, if I play against yellow, obviously I'll side these in, but if I'm not playing against yellow, I don't think that it would come up that much because of how much aggression you put on. Sometimes you don't care if they floodgate negate you, if that makes sense. I sided a 4th copy of this because I didn't have space in the main for another one, for Soul Striker Blue in general. 1 Power Burst because I was looking through my friend's side black binder, and I'm like, okay, I need a side card. I'll put in a Power Burst to grab my not my floodgates, but my silver bullets. Never sided it once. Oceanus. This card is amazing. In that U7 matchup, I almost won just because of Oceanus. I'm only siding 2 because I let my friend borrow 2 and I only own 4 copies. But for Texas, I will definitely be siding 4. Everyone should be siding 4 copies of this card. This card is absolutely amazing against U7. Even if they have the crown, they're forced to crown. They take 1 out, and if you have another one in your hand, it's still gonna it's basically a hatch against that deck. They cannot swing through this card or they will lose. This card is amazing. Sided another Brainwash. Didn't come up at all. I should have sided the 2nd copy against U7, and maybe I would have seen it and won. Sided this against Sin to overrun, clear their board, and run them down into 25k attacker. I sided it against Sin, but it wasn't needed. And this is a card that I really, really do not want to show because it's a card that shuts down one of my favorite decks. I know some people. I don't want to reveal what deck I'm playing in Texas, so I don't want to reveal what this card is because it's going to completely shut down my deck. So unfortunately, I'm not going to reveal what this card is, but I did side it in one of my matchups. I'm sorry, guys, but that's the deck profile. Shout outs to Team FOE X PPG. I got 2nd place, lost out in the last round, lost to U7. It was very close. Shout outs to Team FOE X PPG. Shout out to Nick Brewer. This is literally his deck. Almost all these cards are his. I think like maybe 1 or 2 are mine. Shout out to Josh for letting me borrow the God Trunks in the first place a week ago to see if I even liked the deck, and that's the deck profile.